It's the way they treat the world.
And now they've succeeded in contaminating their own blood, never mind their water.
Typo negativo. Been expecting you for some reason, Dr. Faust.
Hi, welcome to What the Flick, everybody. I'm Matt Atchity. This is Alonso Duralde. We are talking about a vampire movie, Only Lovers Left Alive.
So yes, you thought you never wanted to see another vampire movie at this point, but it turns out you do. At least you want to see one that is written and directed by Jim Jarmusch, the guy behind Down by Law and
Broken
Ghost
Flowers.
Dog and Broken Flowers. One of the cooler Dead Man. Yes, you know, this guy brings something new to the table. For one thing, he brings Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston, and frankly, that's enough right there, I think. But they play a married couple of vampires who have been around for centuries and happily living in separate cities. They decided to get together and hang out in Detroit for a while. Check it out.
Is there a possibility of a night flight from Tangier to Detroit? Is that correct?
I love what you've done with the place. Remember when you gave that string quintet to Schubert?
I only gave him the adagio.
I had a dream about your sister. Shouldn't she be sleeping in a coffin somewhere anyway? Preferably with a wooden stake shoved in.
I'm really, really hungry. Do you maybe have something?
Could you smell it all the way from LA?
You're looking awfully pale there, Dr. Caligari.
Is that the really good stuff?
Precisely. You've been pretty lucky in love, though, if I may say so.
You know, I'm not the giantest Jim Jarmusch fan, to be honest. Like, I respect what he does, and I understand why he is important in indie cinema. Not one of my personal favorites. And God knows I was not wanting to see a vampire movie at this point. And I really think they work together really well, those two things. Like, he actually has kind of fun things to say and an interesting spin on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is a movie that, you know, I can't decide if it's the type of movie that hipsters will love, or it's the type of movie that's like skewering the idea of hipsters.
Right.
You know, you've got these four characters that have been around literally for centuries and talk about all of the stuff that they know that's super old school. And they kind of have this little bit, you know, more than a little bit of kind of like they look down at regular people. They call them zombies.
Right.
You know, it's a really interesting movie.
I think that in a lot of ways, these characters would be insufferable if they weren't vampires.
Yes.
Like, you know, in another indie movie, if you heard people dropping references to Schumann and Einstein and Tesla and blah blah blah, you'd be like, oh, whatever. But these guys knew those people, so that's okay.
And they earned the right to love things that are old and obscure because they were there for them.
Right. Yeah. Like so yeah. Like Tom Hiddleston, you know, is a composer, and now he's making this sort of kind of underground droney music, but he's very analog. Like everything he's got is old school recording equipment and guitars, and you know, loves like these kind of obscure R&B singles. Which again, if it weren't a vampire, you think, oh, well, this guy's a tool. But because he is, it's like, oh, well, of course he would be into that.
You know, to be clear, this is a different kind of vampire movie. This isn't, you know, the romance like Twilight, and this isn't like a scary, super disturbing vampire movie.
They're not on the hunt. They get their blood from hospitals.
Right. This is more about kind of like the mechanics of people kind of, you know, living off the grid, so to speak, and having these secret lives. It is a slow, thoughtful film, but it's got a lot of really smart stuff to say. The performances are really interesting, especially, like, I wouldn't have put Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston together, but they work really well together.
Yeah, they're both attractive people in an unusual way.
Right.
They aren't sort of like stock pretty, but they're both really striking and, you know, handsome. And they kind of carry this idea of, I think it's in my review that like she's worldly, but she's not world weary. Like they're not jaded about it, but you can tell they've seen it all at this point.
Right.
They have been there and they've done that.
But what's interesting is, you know, that's a good point. Like what's interesting is they embody these characters, and there's lines and specific things where, you know, you would think that they would be world weary, and yet there's still a joy of experience.
Yeah, like she reads really fast and in every language on Earth, but she reads, you know.
And she packs up to go on a trip, and all she does is take books.
Right.
Right. I like this movie a lot. I like John Hurt. John Hurt.
Yeah.
You know, I won't reveal who his character is, but
that was a cool choice.
He's really fun.
Mia Wasikowska. She's sort of the troublemaking younger vampire.
Right. Music is a big part of this.
Yes.
You know, it's like a lot of Jim Jarmusch movies, but this one really kind of feels very lo-fi. They go to Tangiers, I believe it is, and that Lebanese singer.
Oh, right.
There's a moment that is almost kind of a throwaway moment, but it's this really neat moment of just kind of the joy of music in the middle of the movie. I like this film a lot, and it's something I've been thinking about a lot. I saw this the night after I saw Under the Skin, which is also in a certain way kind of a vampire movie in a certain way, and it's like two wildly different vampire movies as to what we're used to seeing. But this one really, it's more of a character study about people that happen to be vampires.
I always remember in the Lost Boys, the tagline was be young forever or whatever, and this movie sort of like, what are you going to do with all that time? How are you going to fill it? How are you going to make it fulfilling to you? And so the idea of a vampire who devours literature and another one who composes music, like, okay, yeah, you want like all the time in the world to pursue those things, So yeah, this movie's a lot of fun. Anton Yelchin has a small role that's good. Also Jeffrey Wright. It's a cool looking movie. It was shot by the guy who was a cinematographer on I Am Love, that amazing Tilda Swinton movie from a couple years ago, and he shot Swimming Pool and some other movies. And for it's kind of like that. What's the Michael Mann movie with Tom Cruise?
Collateral.
If you're going to shoot a movie entirely at night, you have to come up with ways to make things look different. And Detroit midnight is different than the pre-dawn hours of Tangiers. Like there's a lot of shades of the darkness in this movie. It's cool to look at. It's fun to watch. The performances are really cool. It is, it's a Jarmusch film, so it's laid back and laconic, but I think it's a lot of fun.
Laid back is really probably the best way to describe this movie, but I like this one a lot. Your score?
I give it an 8.
Yeah, I'm going to give mine probably an 8 as well. So,
all right. So we're an 8. Where is it on the tomato meter?
I believe it's in the 80s on the tomato meter.
Yeah, I think like in the high 80s last time I checked. So Only Lovers Left Alive. Check it out. Thanks.